everyone, today I'm going to be drawing a little mini Spider-Man. I enjoy drawing cuter little versions of superheroes, which I've been doing for a long time. Spider-Man obviously is always a fun one to draw because you can basically do whatever you want pose-wise, and it sort of makes sense when it's Spider-Man. Um, I like drawing Spider-Man because he's probably my favorite superhero. What about you guys? Who is your favorite superhero? Let me know in the comments. Mine sort of changes every now and then depending on what I'm watching, I guess. I do like Captain America. I do like the Hal Jordan Green Lantern. And Wonder Woman, of course. Anyone who knows me knows I like Wonder Woman. But when all is said and done, it's quite a hard task to beat Spider-Man. I love watching Spidey and His Amazing Friends as well. My kids are quite into it, as am I, so it's one that we can actually both watch. Kind of like Bluey, we can all watch it and take something away from it and not, especially as an adult, not cringe when watching a show for kids. More of that preschool type age group show. Sort of like drawing classic Spidey. Peter Parker. I do love Miles. I do love those Spider-Verse movies. And of course the comics that he came from. And Spider-Gwen, or Ghost Spider, or whatever they're calling her these days, I don't know. Hard to keep up sometimes. But Peter Parker is the one I tend to default to when I'm drawing. And of course, I'm doing them in a rather simplistic style, but I do like drawing these sort of chibi versions of the characters. Well, it's not the most Spidey of poses, but it's cool. What I might do is get a thicker pen. So when I'm using Procreate, I tend to mainly stick to two brushes, I should say, which would be this technical one, which I have streamlined, so I get that smoother line, and the studio pen, which is pretty much default, and I use for coloring most of the time, or if I need a really sort of thicker line. If I'm making shapes like this, it's alright because it smooths it out, but I don't have the stabilization on like I do for the other one. This is just the rough version anyway, so we don't need to be perfect, because we can outline it or something when we clean it up on the next layer. Oops. There you go, it's not a bad Spidey. What I might do is just make him a little bit bigger, move the transparency down so we can do a cleanup layer, tracing layer, and now we'll try and tidy him up a bit. When you're doing a circle, a lot of the times what will happen, especially because it's got pressure sensitivity on, is you might get something like this, which is not handy, but if you go more than 360, voila, problem goes away. So there you go, free tip. It's probably obvious to some, but I didn't know it. Well, I didn't figure it out straight away. Yep, I knew that was going to happen. I did that wrong. So what I'll do is I'll do the circle or the oval, and then I'll just add that myself. Oops. The other cool thing about Spidey, which I haven't done here, but of course his eyes lend to, being able to have a bit of fun and expression by changing the shape and size of each eye. It's just a fun character to draw. And while I don't go for the webbing because I think it muddies it up a bit when you're doing something more simple, so it's a bit inaccurate. I tend to just sort of do the circles. I'm still getting used to the fact that this second generation Apple Pencil has the double tap which turns my eraser on. So I'm grossly and inaccurately guessing where these circles go, but it's alright. Oh gosh, I just can't get this one. I think I've just put the eye in the wrong place. But it's okay. We carry on. Because people aren't going to be looking at the individual webs. It's the overall picture. So as long as we're having fun, and as long as the picture looks fun at the end, what more do you need? People probably won't like me saying that. That one's not the best, but we'll leave it. some tread on his boots, even though, I mean, he's Spider-Man, he doesn't need it, he can stick to walls, so I'm sure he can stick to the ground. Oh, that double tap, I've got to do something about that. Right. That's better. Wasn't happy with that shape. Give him a spider. And there we go, Spidey. Then we can put a layer underneath so our lines don't get drawn over. I've still got my palette on from my last drawing, that's alright. Make that a bit bigger. Oops. And the cool thing about Spidey as well is he's only really 2 or 3 colours, if you include the white in his eyes. Another cool thing when you're drawing Spidey stuff is he has one of the best rogues galleries, so it's always fun to draw some of his bad guys. That's all the red bits. Now we have to find a blue that looks okay. I tend to not go as dark as the comics might do. tidy it up a bit. Oh, what happened there? Right, Spidey. Add a bit of wrong layer. Make sure you're on the right layer, colouring layer. I'm too lazy to rename my layers, but when you're doing a much more involved picture than I do, it's probably a good idea. Give his eyes a little bit of shape. And because I'm just a fan of it, I like when there's orange highlights. Like so. Where would I be without the auto shape? I tell you what. It's become such a thing I'm reliant on that when I do traditional drawing, I always find myself using the hand gestures I use in Procreate. Try to straighten lines, try to erase things I've drawn with the pen in real life. Never works. Again, I'm no master colorist, I just muck around. But it's all about having fun, right? It doesn't have to be perfect all the time. Cool, I'm not hating it. And then spider sense is tingling. Someone's on the way. Then what we might do is just throw in this is why I'm not a good colorist, because I can never think of what colors. So maybe I'll just do something like that. Then we need another layer under that. Oops, I deleted the layer. Oof, too big. It's better, then we'll just reshape it ourselves. And throw in our name. Usually I do that on another layer so I can reshape it. But it didn't come out too badly this time. What I might often do as well is go over the picture again to give it a thicker black outline, a more um, uniform outline around the edges. See how around the head it's a bit thicker than over this hand it's not. But for now we've drawn Spidey and that was the goal. Just want to make that smaller. And that is how I draw Spider-Man. So please hit the subscribe and like buttons, share it if you like, and any support is always greatly appreciated. You can follow me on Instagram at Mike Hartigan. And until the next video, imagine, create, and draw.